Hey everyone, my name is Corey, and today we're going to be taking a look at Urban Shadows. This is the second edition, which has been released by Magpie Games. I was one of the people that kickstarted their Kickstarter, and it has taken quite some time to get here. I just got my physical copy a couple months ago, and I think that was maybe 4 years, 5 years, quite a while. So this has been a long time coming, so I'm excited to dive in and see if the wait has been worth it or not. So let's first take a look at the table of contents. Ooh, some nice art. Got some credits here. So let's see what's actually in this book. So we've got our introduction. We'll probably skim through that. This looks like it has to do with the cities, play, character creation. That's always really fun. We've got the moves. It'd be nice. Probably take a look at a couple playbooks, some advancement. Looks like we have a decent GM section, so 50 pages. Some stuff on long-term play, which is less interesting to me right now, and some stuff on the city guides. Urban Shadows is usually like an urban fantasy game, so none of this is surprising. Curious to see a little bit of what those cities look like. Let us start. We'll skim through the introduction, but I kind of want to dive into some of the juicy parts, and anything that's more fluff, I think we'll just skip past. So let's see, introduction. Lots of splash art, lots of full page art. Looks cool, but functionality is, we'll see. Okay, we got a nice layout of what is in this book. So yeah, intro, that's where we are now. Circles, debts, and status in chapter 2. Fundamentals, character creation. Okay, so it lines up pretty closely. What we saw on the table of contents is basically here just with some more explanation. Got some stuff on diversity in play. Playing to find out, so all basic stuff for getting into tabletop role-playing games. So it looks like these pages are meant to go together. So I want to switch this up. 2-page view. And let's do that. There we go. That looks better. Okay, so Urban Shadows, it's interesting that they're starting off with some of the lore. So there's 4 factions, or they're not necessarily factions, but there's 4 circles. There's mortals, night, which is like vampires and stuff. There's power, which is our wizards, and wild, which is fairies and demons, another fun. I feel like wild is usually like the most popular, but fun to see that they lay these out. Let's see, debts are really important. I wonder, this doesn't look like, this looks like this is just explaining how debts work. And the actual rules come later. Okay, so this is just giving like a highlight of all the parts of the game. Okay. Anything here? So this is chapter 3. Okay, so this is the actual rules. So we'll take a look through some of this. So I mean, we're on page 30 and we haven't actually got to stuff that I'm actually interested in yet. So that's kind of a lot of content. Probably wouldn't use most of this stuff before here just because it, like, you read it once and then you're done. Okay, let's see what the fundamentals have. Talking about scenes, positioning. So this is just an introduction to Powered by the Apocalypse. Okay, so really nice actual mechanics. So it looks like, yeah, we roll 2 6-sided dice and then add the results together and then add your attribute. So Anything that's 7 or higher is a hit. 6 or less is a miss. And it looks like 10 or plus is a full hit. 7 to 9 is a weak hit, and below that is a miss. So pretty standard Powered by the Apocalypse stuff here. I do like that they talk about triggering moves. Something that I notice when a lot of people come into Powered by the Apocalypse is they'll be like, I'm going to use my turn to violence move or whatever it's called. But that's not really how that works. Oh yeah, they just explained here too. It's not enough to say I want to turn to violence. You actually have to say what you do, which is nice. It's kind of like crucial for Powered by the Apocalypse. All right, what's next? We've got some stuff on circles. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot on mechanics here again, so we're going to keep cruising through. It looks like we're talking about circles ratings ranging from -3 to +3. Then we have some more stuff on debts. And then it looks like we have some mechanics, possibly. So what can you use a debt for? So if you have a debt on someone, if you have it with a player character, you can make them answer a question honestly. You can have them do a favor at moderate cost. Lend a hand to your efforts, get in the way of someone else. Erase a debt that they hold on someone else, or give you a debt they hold on someone else. And if it's an NPC, answer a question honestly, arrange a meeting, get a boon or gift. So pretty straightforward. I really think that brevity is not. Lately I've been into games that are, tight and short. It does feel like there's a lot of content in here that is maybe duplicated or not as short as it could be. All right, we got some stuff on intimacy moves. Intimacy moves are kind of fun. I kind of think it's interesting. Intimacy moves are like they're much broader than what the name suggests. So I kind of thought they might rename it, but they do have a little disclaimer here saying that intimacy moves aren't just physical or sexual. They can be emotional, but I think it seems like this could be renamed and improved to reflect that. And then we have corruption, which has always been a really important part of Urban Shadows. So what do we have? Yeah, they talk about how you gain corruption from hitting your playbut's trigger. The move tells you to do it, or the MC tells you to do it. And then corruption advances. We'll see what those look like. And then retiring once you do. Okay. Arm. Okay, let's keep this is okay. Like I don't mind looking at some of this stuff, but it's still really high level. Okay, here's some stuff on how you start a game. Okay. I do enjoy character creation, so let's see what that looks like start to finish. If we're able to. Okay, pick your playbook. See, I don't think they need a whole page on explaining picking a playbook. This could be like a couple sentences at most. Okay, we have our stats. So your blood stat, that's a measure of your character's toughness. Heart is your character's passion, charm, and charisma. Mind is their intellect. Spirit is their magical aptitude, inner strength. Okay. It looks like they go from -3 to +3. We have some intro questions on gear, playbook moves, playbook features. Okay, it's doing a lot of explaining at length, which I'm kind of just. This is stuff that I tend to skim over, so we're doing a lot of skimming. Let's see. Okay, we're all the way on to chapter 5, core moves. Okay, this is the actual move, so this seems like something we can actually dive into rather than just skim, hopefully. Okay, each player has some basic moves, so there's 7 basic moves. We've got turn to violence, escape a situation, persuade an NPC, mislead, distract, or trick, figure someone out, keep your cool, and let it out. So when you turn to violence, you roll with blood. On a hit, you inflict harm. That makes sense. And then your opposition chooses 1. So they inflict harm on you, they put you in a bad spot, they create an opening to flee. Or on a 10 plus, you also choose 1. So the harm is terrible, you take something from them, or you create an opportunity. I like that. I like that this is your opponent always gets to pick something, even if you get a 10 plus. Because the interesting thing about Powered by the Apocalypse is full successes usually aren't actually good for the story. They bring an end to story parts. Quite a bit of description on what this all means. It looks like they have example text as it goes, which is interesting. This makes it nice for reading for the first time, but when you're actually playing the game, this is actually not helpful because it's just taking up more space. But the other option is you could put all of the text or all the like example text at the end of a chapter, or you could have a chapter dedicated to just that. Okay, we got escape a situation. So when you take advantage of an opening to escape a situation, roll with blood. On a hit, you get away and choose 1. On a 7 to 9, the MC also chooses 1. So I like that. I like that on the hits, you're still picking stuff that's gonna push the story forward. So you can choose from suffering a harm, end up in a different situation, you leave something important behind. Owe an NPC a debt, or you give into your base nature and mark corruption. Cool. Persuading. This one's interesting because this is a very social game, so I hope that this one is quite good. So when you persuade an NPC with seduction, promises, or threat, that's kind of the important part. People think you can just demand stuff in tabletop games, but that's not really how persuasion works. On a hit, they see your point and do as you ask. Okay, so no. That's interesting that they don't have like a push the story forward thing on a hit there. On a 7 to 9, they counter your offer or demand payment. If you invoke a debt with the NPC before you roll, you can get +3 to your roll for a maximum of +4. That's interesting. You can mislead, distract, or trick someone with mind. You'll create an opportunity. You can expose a flaw or weakness. You can confuse them for some time, or you can avoid further entanglement. Okay. Oh, this is fun. When you try to figure someone out, roll with mind. On a hit, ask 2. On a 7 to 9, they ask you 1 as well. That's fun. If you're in their circle, ask an additional question, even on a miss. And then they have some pretty good questions. Who's pulling your strings? What's your beef with so-and-so? What are you hoping to get from this? What do you worry is going to happen? Yeah, cool. And then keep your cool. So this is when things get real and you keep your cool, tell the MC the situation you want to avoid. So this seems like this is the catch-all, avoid danger kind of thing. Interesting that they do on a 10 plus everything is good. It's another one that doesn't really push the story forward too much. And then on a 7 to 9, it costs you something. This one, I think, requires a little bit more explanation. So let's see what they have to say. This happens when you need to accomplish an important goal or avoid serious danger. This is kind of used when no other move seems like a good fit. Okay. This one seems like the weakest. Maybe it's like a catch-all. A little bit weird that it's spirit. So I like this one the least so far. Okay, what do we have for this? Let it out. This is, I like this one a lot. I remember in the first edition of Urban Shadows, this was kind of mediocre, but I heard they made a lot of improvements to this with the playbooks and stuff. So let's see what it says. So when you let out the power within you, choose an ability from your playbook and roll with spirit. On a hit, mark corruption and activate the ability. The MC will tell you how the effect is costly, limited, or unstable. If you roll a 10 plus, ignore the corruption or the complications. Your choice. So this is another nice one. This is a really good example of you get to pick. Like you still are going to have to move the story forward with either corruption or complications, but you get a little choice there. Once we look at the playbooks, it'll be more clear what Let It Out can do. But look, I like that they've explained what this is. Yeah, lots of quite a bit of text. We'll save this. I'm still not liking how there's this, like, this is the important part. And then there's just all this. So I'm curious to see what the play materials look like, because like I would never want to use this at the table. Like it's not useful. Lend a hand or get in the way. So this is how you can help and interact with people. Oh, and then you have your end of session stuff. I like this. So at the end of every session, decide if you've grown closer to a circle you engaged with this session. If you do, increase your score and decrease your score in a different one. And then you also talk about any debts that you may be owed or owed to you. I like that they move this to the end of the session, because a lot of times when you play the game, it's tough to do that while you're playing. Okay, let's see what we've got next. Ooh, circle moves. So something that I think sets Urban Shadows apart is you have these circle moves. Like this is very much just like, oh, drama. They're very specific to the characters, but then once you start adding in like circles and stuff, you can start to see how like the different factions interact, which is nice. So this is when you try and find someone, put a name to a face or vice versa, roll with their circle. On a hit, you know their reputation. MC will tell you what most people know about them. On a 10 plus, you've dealt with them before. On a miss, you don't know them or you owe them. MC's choice. When you hit the streets to get what you need, name who you're going to enroll with their circle. If you need any help from someone, you can do that. Oh, and then places of power. So when you study a sanctuary, gathering spot, or place of power, roll with the circle that controls it. On a hit, you see below the surface to the reality underneath. MC will reveal an area, NPC, or item located within that is not what it seems. On a 10 plus, your insight reveals much about the circle's politics and schemes. Ask the MC a relevant question about the circles and take +1 forward acting on them. Oh, and then we have the debt moves. So this one's easy. When you do someone a favor, they owe you a debt. When someone agrees to overlook a harm you've done to them, you owe them a debt. And then this was duplicated earlier, but there's when you cash in a debt, you get some benefits that you can pull. Debts are kind of the bread and butter of Urban Shadows, so they give you a lot of options here. And they have some stuff for refusing to honor a debt. It looks pretty punishing. Like on a 7 to 9, you owe them an extra debt, or you can mark corruption. So you would do that pretty rarely. Or maybe not. Maybe you would just go ham and do it all the time. When you try to weaken someone's standing in a circle with rumor and gossip. Oh, these are city moves. Okay. So city moves. This looks like what you do when time passes. I like that you have different moves based off of your status. So you get these if you're status 1, these if you're status 2. And then this is kind of like an exception. This isn't really meant for, you know, anyone and everyone to have access to. But this is cool. So if you're status 1, you can weaken someone's standing. You can put out a word, you can talk to your contacts, or you can tend to your business. If you're status 2, you get 3 additional options. You can marshal forces, so you can get some people together. You can lay claim, or you can recruit new allies. Okay, I don't think I want to read the details of these. Like, I think if you were playing the game, you would do these, like you'd get to your break in the story and you would, you know, open up the book and go through this step by step. Okay, we got some stuff on making your own moves. The art is decent. I like the art. Oh, and then we have the playbooks. Excellent. So this is probably the most fun part of that I'm looking forward to. Seeing, like, there's quite a few. What do we have here? There's the Aware, Fae, Hunter, Imp, Oracle, Spectre, Sworn, Tainted, Vamp, Veteran, Wizard, and Wolf, which is like quite a bit. And each of them is going to have a nice different play style. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that looks like. And actually, you know what? Let me bring up. I think the book only has like descriptions. I don't think it has the actual playbook. So let me do this. So that way we can like compare. So what do we all have in a chapter here? So it looks like, yeah, we have some options for getting started. We'll take a look at. This looks like a move just for the playbook. Some stuff on their assets. Moves, corruption. And then if we take a look at the character sheet, it looks pretty similar. Okay, so let's go take a look. Let's find one that we're interested. I don't really care about the aware. The Fae is fun. That jacket is really ugly, but we will ignore that. Okay, so what's the Fae got going on? So you get your starting character stats. I like that. I like that it's prescribed. Like, here's what you get. So blood is -1. Not good at fighting. Heart is +1. So your face, obviously, you're good at chatting with people. Mind is 0. Spirit is 1. Your circle ratings. So you start with some ratings with power and wild, but night is not your friend. And then you have some status amongst the wild faction because that's where you come from. Intro questions. These look fun. Why did you leave your homeland? How long have you been in the city? What do you love most about humanity? Who is your closest confidant or lover? What do you desperately need? So those are fun. Very evocative for creating a character. Starting year is a house or apartment. A relic from your homeland, that's fun. And a symbol of your court. You get a few starting debts. So someone disrupted a rare ritual of your court for personal gain, besmirching your reputation with your monarch. They owe you a debt. You are keeping something hidden on behalf of someone else for a powerful member of their circle. Ask them why. They owe you a debt. You entrusted someone with an important and dangerous task. Ask them if they succeeded or failed. If they succeeded, you owe them a debt. If they failed, they owe you a debt. And then they have some cool let it out abilities. So this is what we were looking at earlier, but each one comes with like, hey, you're this creature. Here's what you can do when you let it out. So you can summon an elemental storm of your court, which does 2 harm. And I think this means it's close, so it's nearby. It's an area effect, and I think that means armor piercing. Appear to others as someone you have previously touched. That's very Fey. Compel the elements of your court to reveal what they've seen. Get some information, or you can create a telepathic link between yourself and another for a scene. Cool. All right. So you get fairy powers. How does this work? So you get a few different powers. And let's read how they... Oh, okay. So here's your fairy magic stuff. So what do some of these powers look like? So glamour, you can create an illusion to fool the senses. They don't last long, but they are compelling. You can become an animal. That's fun. It looks like later on in one of the other moves, it'll talk about how to use these. And then you have some stuff on your court. So they can be aloof and cold, savage and unruly. Your monarch standing is represented by a magical aura. And your rival is a contemptuous peer. You owe them a debt for their patience. That's fun. I mean, this adds like a whole action by default into the game, which is fun. So the Fae is very social. Okay, so yeah, you get your fairy magic. So you have access to gifts of your court, powers that call upon your homelands, magic and wonder. Select your powers from the list provided. Whenever you use one of your fairy powers, you choose one. So you can either suffer harm, you can mark corruption, or you can give your monarch a debt. That's fun. Having a way to get corruption early on is kind of nice. Let's take a look at what this looks like on the character sheet. Oh yeah, so here's our fairy magic. Ever let it out stuff at the bottom. And then we have a few other moves, which I'm going to skip over those just for the sake of time. Then we have intimacy moves. So when you share a moment of intimacy, you can demand a promise from them. If they refuse you or break the promise, they owe you a debt. When you die or retire, bestow the favor of your court upon someone. They can take fairy magic and 2 of your fairy powers, or advance persuade an NPC. That's fun. And then advances is this. Acquiring a knightly title means you're knighted by your monarch. How do you do this? At the start of each session, hold 3. Spend your hold 1 for 1 to gain armor against enemies of your court for a scene. You can take +1 to turning to violence in the service of your court. Or you can heal 2 harm inflicted by the enemies of your court. Okay, I don't know how you get that, but probably described here somewhere. Okay, and then we go to the next character. And then we have some cool stuff for corruption. So you gain corruption whenever you break a promise or tell an outright lie. So let's take a look and see how this compares to the character sheet. You got your fairy magic. You have a few other moves that you can pick. We looked at let it out already. You have your advancement here. So, okay, so if you get 5 advances, then you are able to acquire a knightly title, which was this thing here. You can, I do like that the advancement in this game is so diversified. Like you can get extra moves, you can get moves from other playbooks, you can advance basic moves. Lots of fun stuff. Scars we haven't got to, or we skipped over them. Okay, here's the character creation stuff. Here's your moves. Here's your court. A very, very tiny notes section. Intimacy. And then, let's see. Oh yeah, corruption. So what do you get? So one of your corruption things is you can get heart +1. And then if you roll a 12 or plus, you mark corruption. That's cool. Usually corruption, once you get it, it will make it so that you gain corruption faster. Okay, cool. Let's see. We'll maybe take a look at another playbook. But the playbooks are obviously the best part for me. Very detailed, very flavorful. The way they've lined them up in the actual character sheets is nice. I don't know, like this looks like it'd be kind of tough to print off. there's a lot of information on it, but it's condensed, so I like that. The rulebook is the polar opposite. It's not condensed at all. Oh, that's spooky. Vampire. I played a vampire once. It was fun, but I think the second edition one has some nice improvements to it. The wizard, very popular. The wolf. Now I know that there was. I want to take a quick look at some of the play sheets. I know that there was some extra playbooks that were released as part of the Kickstarter, and I haven't looked at those, but I should go download them. Oh, I kind of wish I had one ready because we could have taken a look, but I think they're pretty similar to the ones in the book. It's just more variety. So this is what you'd have actually at the table. So this makes sense, super condensed. You have your circle moves, your debt moves. Advanced moves. So we saw on the character sheet how you can advance your moves, which looks like all of them are on a 12 or plus, you get something. Okay, faction moves. These are less interesting. City moves. So yeah, this is for more bigger level gameplay. You have your MC list. Handy to know all the corruption triggers. Okay, stuff for items, groups, weapons. Okay, I mean, the most important part is the basic moves and the debt moves. The other stuff is you don't need as much. Okay, let's see what's next. So advancement. You can kind of see, like, I think if I remember correctly from first edition, when you do something with any of these factions, you get to mark it. And once you've marked all 4, you erase it and then you advance. So I'm curious to see why there's a whole chapter for this. Yeah, to advance, you have to mark all 4 circles. You can mark a circle when you do one of their moves, intimacy move, cash in a debt, honor a debt, or do one that tells you to mark a circle. Okay, yeah. And then here's the advancing basic moves part, which we kind of saw a little bit about. And corruption advances. Okay, so that was like kind of short, made sense. Here's a chapter, I think on for the MC, this is going to have a lot of stuff on how to run the game. I think this was like quite a long chapter, but we're just going to skim through this. So you got your agenda, your principles, you know, teaching someone how to run the game, which is really good if you're new. You have moves for the circles. That's kind of nice. I don't know why this is hidden in the book, though. This seems like it'd be good for the play sheets. Oh, it is here. Okay. Very good. What else do we have? Some information on those moves. Okay, this is a lot. How to run your first session. What to prepare. Starting it. Okay, yep. I don't think there's much else that we need to see in here. This is nice. A long example. I feel like I like this format a little bit better than the examples that are in the chapters. But I guess you're probably not going to use the book at the table. It seems like that the question is, are these sheets good enough that you could use just this at the table? And it seems like it's decent. Then we have some stuff on long-term play. So this would be something that, you know, once you've played for a while, you'd get to use, which is fun. I like that they included this. Seems very optional. And then the cities. Okay, what do we have for the city? So I just want to take a peek. I'll open up one of the cities. This doesn't specify which city it's part of, so I don't quite understand how that works. We have Chicago and Santiago. Let's just take a little looky poo at what's in here. This is so much text. This is also a lot of text. I personally don't see this as valuable, but oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. You know, I'm curious who this helps out the most. Like, this is so much. Okay. So we have some example NPCs. I like that. Okay, and for each circle as well. So it's a little bit weird. It doesn't say who this person is unless you read all of this. A little bit much. We have some stuff for the night factions, power, wild, and then the other city, Santiago. So I was kind of hoping there'd be a little bit more in here. Like, I mean, it comes with a set of NPCs. Feels like a city is a little bit more than that, but it's okay. Then we have the appendix. So we have the reference material here. Moves. This is interesting. Just a list of all the advancements. Maybe helpful for the GM if they want to print that off and they can track who has what. Okay, and then here's the city hub stuff. Which I guess we'd have to like read in detail how these interact with the cities we saw earlier. And then we're at the index already. Wild. So I guess some thoughts. Let's go back to the table of contents. Obviously, the best part of this game for me is all the different playbooks. Very unique, very flavorful, lots going on there. And then they work really well with the actual rules that are part of the game. There's a lot of extra content in here. Feels like 304 pages. I feel like this book could be 100 pages if you know, were a bit more, you really wanted to focus it in. What else do we have? I mean, the character creation rules, you need that. Magpie Games is big enough that they would include like how to play a game in here, and Powered by the Apocalypse kind of requires that. But this isn't actually an Urban Shadows thing. Like, this is not Urban Shadows. This is Powered by the Apocalypse. Explaining the cities is okay. It felt like all of this like 50 pages of stuff that was, this all felt like introduction. It felt like this really could have been tightened up. So if you're new to Urban Shadows, it's probably a lot more helpful, but I am not that new. I've played it before, so this was like pretty easy to skip for me, I think. Character creation, this also feels like it's a little bit long. And the character creation looks like it's also built into the playbooks. Yeah, like you have all your stuff right there. Kind of smushed together, like that looks pretty compact, but it's all there. The moves. So on the most important stuff, in my opinion, they spent 100 pages, so a third of the book, going from core moves and the playbooks. And then what else do we have here? Advancement. This section, like, this is one of those things where it's like, this is kind of related to Urban Shadows, but this is also just like, how do you play games? Long-term play. This would be good for if you're doing, I like this, even though it's like, you know, most groups won't see it. And then the city guides were, they felt like they were a little bit disconnected. So I'm not too sure about that. Overall, like, I think that this game would play well at the table. It feels like you'd really have to cut a lot away. Like at a typical table, you're going to show up, you're going to have your playbooks, you're going to have the moves, and then you're going to have 300 pages that you don't look at ever, which is a lot. So that's interesting. I think they did quite a good job. Like, I like the art is nice, the design is nice. I would be curious to see like what a tightened up version of this is. But I think, you know, looking at it, the intent is all of the play materials should be good enough. There's probably going to be a few spots that are not quite good enough. What do we have for play sheets? Like, you really need a good play sheet for the MC so they can track like factions and NPCs. And like, this lets you track NPCs, but you can't write in new ones. These are all existing ones. Okay, so it looks like for the art district, for example, the hubs have different moves in them. So I think my conclusion is a lot of it's really cool. I think it would be fun to play. I think it would play well at the table. I think it would be a good game. You'd need the right people to play, like it's urban fantasy. I think my thing I like the least, which I've already talked about, is there's just a lot of stuff that you don't need. Or maybe you need it like once. Like, this could just be blogs on their website. Same with this. You know? So I would love to see a version of this where it's just trimmed down. Here's all the stuff you need. Keep it short, keep it specific. Maybe have like an examples chapter. I didn't really enjoy the inline examples. Lots of flavor text. You're definitely going to have no shortage of flavor text. But the thing for flavor text for me is, like, I don't know, like, you're not going to use this at the table. This seems more for people who are going to read the book. Which, you know, it's a book, so that's what happens with it. People are going to read it, but, you know, it's also a game, so yeah. Any last thoughts? I think that would definitely give this a shot. Seems like it's better than first edition. I like a lot of the improvements they made, and yeah, I the wait, like, this took 4+ years to get to me. That was a little bit too much. I was really tempted to ask for a refund, but like overall, it looks cool and it's here now. So a little bit of patience worked out there. Yeah. If you have any thoughts, let me know what you think. I'm curious if anyone has had a chance to actually play the second edition. And that's that for the read through here. Thanks, everyone.